This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugotz podcast.
This promises to be a somewhat different and less energetic local hour than the local hour that we had for about 3 hours yesterday. And I've already got Tony and Billy looking at me funny, but I want to explain myself before you guys get profoundly defensive, even though the two of you are two of the places I'm going to make people defensive.
Please do, because it felt like an insult. I felt it on their behalf.
I mean, we're here for. I don't know.
Look
about
around you,
Dan.
Billy. Who else is here?
Who's here for Dan today? I don't see.
Us.
I don't see anyone but
Okay.
me and Tony.
This is my point. It is Billy and Tony and Jess. And Billy, I believe, even though I haven't been able to confirm it, I believe at the end of Game 6 in his house, Billy did the Tiger Woods fist
False.
pump. I don't know it to be true, but I also believe sources close to Billy have informed me that he might not be the person rooting most against the Heat in our environment. That there are people in our environment rooting against the Heat.
Who would do that?
And I believe the most energetic pro-Heat person we have here is the one who wanted a microscopic chance at ping pong balls and wanted them to tank the season at the end of the regular season during the play-ins.
Are you insinuating there's a cock in the hen house?
I am insinuating that
Is it cock or fox?
I think it's a fox.
A fox in the hen house, right?
Yeah.
The cock should be in the hen house.
Right.
He's
No,
the one that
well-
kind of makes everything happen.
Not if you just want unfertilized eggs. The cock's in the hen house, then you got a problem.
But I think they've got it right. I think you just wanted to say that word.
No,
I
that's
think
a phrase. That's 100% a phrase.
the fox in the hen house takes it eats all of the hens. That's why you don't want a fox in the hen house. You're saying that if a rooster makes its way into the hen house, everyone's going to make eggs, and that's a bad thing. We don't want.
Well, you can't eat fertilized eggs, can you? Then you have little chicks in there. You don't want to eat chick. Imagine, Dan, if you went to, your local grocery. And by the way, you pointed this out to me. Shout out to the chickens, huh? Working overtime and getting those price of eggs down because everything is up right now, but eggs are right back down. So the hens, shout out to the hens. Salute to them.
Again, I don't believe you got the phrase right. I don't know if Jessica is against the Heat, but I know there are a lot of people in our audience who are against this show being contaminated the way it has been by Heat and Panther coverage.
I'm kind of tired of that. They're in the NBA Finals and Stanley Cup Finals. Like, we'd be talking about the NBA Finals if the Heat weren't in the NBA Finals.
We probably wouldn't be talking about the Stanley Cup Final
No
very
doubt.
much, so if not for the Panthers being in. Stugotz, I do want to get inside of your head for a second on something that
Don't do it, I'm
confounds
telling
me.
you.
And I'm hoping that
Nothing
Billy
in there.
I'm hoping that Billy can help me because I might want to pose these questions to Billy before I pose them to you.
Okay.
I'd like to understand. You're someone who takes after Mike and the Mad Dog.
Yeah.
Mad Dog is a bit of a sports encyclopedia. And at this point in your career, I believe you behave in a way that is not very Mad Dogian, in that your takes are shaped as you drive in, just listening to Keyshawn and Max and whoever's on in the morning. That's how you sharpen your takes.
Don't leave out Evan Cohen.
Okay, so you're driving down to work, and it takes you a long time, and you're just sort of consuming the way people would consume audiobooks. Give me a Cliff Notes versions of what happened in sports last night on sports radio where some people are talking about it.
It's just occurring to me that if Mad Dog's a sports encyclopedia, Stugotz is a sports Wikipedia, where it's just like a community thing. Any information can be there. You never know if it's true or it's false. Anyone has access to it. And it's just kind of like a group thing type of thing, you know?
Except Wikipedia actually cites its sources on the bottom of
I
the
think of
page.
Stugotz as more of a Reddit. No rules. You just do what it is that you want. But the reason I want to ask this
Reddit has
question,
rules.
Billy, help me, because I do want to know what's happening here. Yesterday, on a day of Heat celebration, Stugotz did not hear this elsewhere. He crafted it on the way in. This was something he wanted. This was a shot he wanted to get off. He wanted everyone to know that Erik Spoelstra should go looking for another job right now. And I'm just curious, how do you think his mind is working where he decides, before they've gotten eliminated for the season, he decides the take he wants to have before the finals is Erik Spoelstra is at maximum leverage. And I have a theory on what's happening with Stugotz here, but he's at maximum leverage, and Stugotz always notices when anyone has maximum leverage. He doesn't care that the previous information does reveal to us that in Portland, which is, kind of home for Spoelstra, they were rumored or reported to have been offering him president, coach, one would assume more money, maybe an equity stake. This was offered to him.
An average team,
I mean, if you must know the truth, he started trying to get this off the ground when they were up 3-0. So what happened was he wanted him to leave mid-series before they even made it to the finals. And then they lost 3 games, so in his eyes, Spo lost some of the leverage.
Doing?
But now it's back because he has the leverage. What is he doing? I don't know, man. He's just coming in trying to fill some time.
I don't believe that.
Thank you, Billy.
No, I don't believe that that's what he's doing. I believe that he's trying to be the agent for
Dan,
Spo, that he wants a percentage, that he's right across from the arena now, that if there's a way to get at a scam, that Stugotz will figure out how to try to get near people who have leverage so he can feel like he has leverage.
To Stu's defense, I mean, Spoelstra's stock has never been higher than right
Thank
now.
you.
The thing, though, is
taking that team to the
Yes.
NBA Finals, he can write his own ticket. Milwaukee may be calling. You got.
I would
Giannis
say
hanging
merely
out.
just taking this team to the NBA Finals, his stock is higher now than it was when he won back-to-back NBA championships because no one gave him the credit when it was LeBron, Wade, and Bosh, and now he is getting maximum credit. Tim Legler told us last week on Stupidity that Erik Spoelstra, if he left today, could pick any of the available jobs, and he would get it on his terms. And I'm just saying, why not? Why not think about it?
That's where it started.
Oh.
That's where it started.
It started prior to that, but Legs kind of upped it and said that he could take any job plus $1 million is what he would be worth. So whatever it is that they're offering plus $1 million. Now, here's the problem with what's going on with Spo right now. I don't know what's going on with me. Here's the problem with Spo. He needs to act fast because these jobs are becoming available and then unavailable very quickly. If he wants to go to Golden State, he needs to go now.
Yeah.
Well, I just told Tony that the Bucks already hired a head coach, to which he said, nah.
Yeah, I mean, if
They
Spo
would
comes knocking
fire
on that
him.
door,
Yeah.
who's it? Adrian Griffin? Come on, please.
Yeah.
If the ink's not dry,
Attaboy.
It's
Jeff
probably
Van
dry.
Gundy said the other day that Erik Spoelstra is the best coach in Heat history.
Oh, my God.
He's absolutely right.
Ron Rothstein would like a word.
Oh. Stop it.
I mean, bad?
Cut it.
He is right,
Oh, boy.
but I think he is also biased and that Jeff Van Gundy, because those Van Gundys had a bad falling out with Pat Riley.
Is it Van Gundy's or Van's Gundy?
Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at LeBatard Show. Is it Van Gundy's or Van's Gundy?
Huh.
But both of them, Stugotz, they have a relationship with Pat Riley, who did for them what he did for Erik Spoelstra.
Yes, he did.
Be a loyal soldier, and you will have a lifetime of basketball opportunities here or elsewhere. But whatever happened with Stan at the end, where Stan was coaching Dwayne Wade and then Stan was not coaching Dwayne Wade and Pat Riley was coming down from on high to win the championship, I think that Jeff Van Gundy could be telling the truth and also pinpricking Pat Riley because, I mean, this is ancient history, but when Jeff Van Gundy was hanging on to Alonzo Mourning's leg in those finals, Pat Riley really ripped Jeff Van Gundy for losing publicly, raising the stakes on a Game 7 by ripping Jeff Van Gundy publicly for losing his composure and saying he was somebody who just throws spitballs in the classroom and just not respecting the Van's Gundy name.
Here's a fun fact, friends. You know who actually is the winningest coach in Heat history? It's Stan Van Gundy by percentage. He's higher than Spo and higher than Riley. Riley's
Slight
the
a hand
third.
trick there by Billy.
How so?
How many
By
games?
percentage.
How many games?
How many games did Stan Van Gundy coach? 185.
And how many did Spo coach?
1,195.
Oh, okay. Just
How
making
about
sure.
Riley?
Yeah, 10 times as many.
Well, do better.
Is Jeff Van Gundy taking out both Pat Riley and his brother there on purpose?
Riley didn't take it as well. I mean, Stan probably laughed. It would have been great if he said Stan was the greatest coach in Heat history.
He's not wrong, correct? I don't think anybody would dispute which is saying something, given that Pat Riley, you see this stat floating around. I gave it to you a couple of weeks ago from David Aldridge, that Pat Riley, as a player or executive or coach, has been in 25% of the finals.
DA.
I mean, that's crazy. That's totally nuts. 25% of the finals once every 4 years since basketball is played.
How does that even happen? Like mathematically.
It's nuts, man.
I've had something funny happening to me recently. This could only almost happen in Miami as a sports town, an American sports town. People are coming up to me, Stugotz, because everybody's very excited and they want to, just talk sports. And they're usually not, because I'm not in Fort Lauderdale.
Don't you love it?
Asking me about the Panthers. They're usually asking me about the Heat. And they're just basically asking me something so that they can then talk. Like, it doesn't matter what I say. It's just waiting for me to stop talking so they can then give me their opinion. But this is what I've noticed.
Your opinion is a bridge to their opinion.
That's correct.
Yes.
That is correct.
That's every sports conversation
They learn from the best.
I've had in my whole life, by the way.
But this is the funny thing that's happening, and I really do think it's something that can only happen in Miami. I'm pretty sure the people talking to me, all of them, haven't seen Jokic play. They're in for a surprise, man.
Don't do
Thank
that,
you, Billy. I do appreciate all of your support there. That's good commentary from you. Very strong. One of the few places you're efficient.
My wife asked who the Heat are facing in the NBA Finals. I said, that guy I showed you on TV a couple of weeks, the best player in the NBA. She said Heat in 4.
My mother-in-law was watching the game the other day, and she's like, oh, wow, who the Heat going to play next? And I'm like, they're playing the Nuggets. She's like, I haven't really watched much basketball this season. Who's their best player? I'm like, watch the game. The guy that you don't think is their best player is their best player.
It is as odd, right, to the uninitiated. They're going to think it's like those Sam Hauser minutes that the Celtics threw out there with a few minutes left to surprise people. They're going to be so confused. The first time Jokic spins on Bam and makes him look unathletic.
Your wives and partners were saying they didn't know who he was. Meanwhile, he was in my dream on Sunday night.
What?
What was he
Really
doing?
weird. We were on a school bus. I don't know. I didn't like it. I don't really dream about
How did he
sports
fit?
very often. That's a good question, Tony. But
You and Jokic were on a bus together?
We were on a bus, like going on a field trip. It was weird. I woke up and I was like, ugh, I feel weird.
Hold on. We need to go deeper into this.
No, that's okay.
You were on this bus. Did you get to your destination?
I
Was
think
he
we were
driving?
going to like the field museum or something. Like we were on a field trip.
Was he in his jersey?
Yeah, he was. Yeah. And his arms were bleeding.
Do you remember any of the other details in
Nope,
terms
that
of
was
how much space he took up?
We fit on one bench together. I don't know why I don't know
That's
why we're
impossible.
doing dream revealing now.
Okay,
I regret
but
this.
you
I
are-
don't want to talk about my dreams.
Okay, well, it's too late. You've opened this particular hole to us, and
I can't tell you the last time I had a dream about sports. Like a dream about sports that wasn't like a nightmare about Notre Dame football, I should say. Yeah.
are you much of a dreamer in general?
Yes.
And you're saying that
But I'm
athletes,
not the only one.
athletes usually don't appear in those dreams?
Never.
Jokic,
It was weird, and I don't watch a lot of Nuggets basketball.
Jokic appeared in uniform?
Yes, in uniform.
Total uniform, like he was
In
wearing
uniform,
the
yes.
shorts,
Yes.
Bloody
correct.
arms.
Bloody
Yeah.
arms.
Yeah.
Okay. And
He
you were
was
sitting
there.
next to him?
Yes, and we were on a school field trip.
And were there a lot of kids? Was it an adult Jokic and you were a child on a school bus, or was it a child Jokic?
I think we were both our current ages, but that is a fair question. 'Cause
Child
that would
Jokic.
unlock even more questions. I'm not sure if I know what he looked like when he was a child.
The
Same size. Yeah.
So you guys were students together, like in the same class?
No,
on
he was a
field trip?
professional basketball player.
Oh.
He was a 3-time MVP.
And
of
you
the
were an
National
adult.
Basketball Association. Yeah, it was me.
And other kids were there.
I don't know. I don't remember if there were children.
So it could have been an empty school bus, just
no, there
you
were
two
there
sitting
were
together.
there were definitely people on the school bus.
Yeah. But when Jokic is around, it's just you and him.
Exactly.
Right.
He's a 2-time MVP.
Sorry.
No, that's
Got
okay.
ahead of
It should
myself.
be a 3-time
Should
MVP.
be 3, yes.
They didn't.
Yes.
They just got
Next
bored.
year.
They wanted to give it to somebody else. And I suppose I should probably tell the audience that in these circumstances, throughout the history of basketball time, the MVP wins this series. With no exceptions. The Miami Heat, if they were to win this, would become the biggest upset in the history of the sport. That's so. There is no precedent for an 8 seed. Rarely does an 8 seed get this far. Stugotz, they were down 3 with 3 minutes left in the playoff game at home after losing to Atlanta. They were the last team to leak into the playoffs. This never wins in basketball. And under every circumstance I've ever had a year like this in front of me, when I'm watching like the Richard Jefferson Nets, and I'm like, they're going to get swept. They're going to get there, and they're going to get swept. I would say the Heat will get swept or will lose in 5 games. But I've been wrong about everything regarding this Heat team. The argument I would have made is they would have lost that way to the Bucks too. And they did not. So the only thing that I could sort of grab onto in the analysis of the game, Stugotz, is that none of us actually understand how and why the Heat are as good as they are at defense, and no one in the analysis cares to analyze it while crushing Bam for being limited offensively sometimes and not taking into account everything he does to make them a championship defense. And now, the unholiest test of his lifetime, right here. It's the hardest thing. It's harder than Giannis.
Oh, it's harder than Giannis, yes. For him, for Bam, it's harder than Giannis.
Bigger and stronger, and you saw what Brook Lopez did in the first series against Miami when you're faced with bigger and stronger.
Plus, historically, the Heat just haven't been good against the Nuggets. Aaron Gordon's been great when he's guarding Jimmy Butler. Like, there are a lot of things to be concerned about with this Heat team and with this matchup, but you've been wrong the entire postseason. And most people have. Not just you. This would be the most improbable NBA champion we've ever seen.
The Nuggets are built really different than a lot of NBA teams. They're such a long team, right? Like, they field a lot of long guys. And Jokic, the thing with Bam, right? Like, he would switch on to Giannis when he can. Like, nobody else can really help Bam with Jokic. Like, it's Bam's deal now.
And beyond that, Stugotz, I would say that if you're trying to formulate arguments, because this is not the coaching mismatch that the last series was, but if you're trying to formulate arguments on behalf of the Miami Heat, what you're going to is that Denver's defense isn't Miami's defense, but it doesn't feel very good as an argument. Like, you don't feel like you have a winning argument. You could be hopeful, you can care deeply, but when your argument is, I don't know what I'm talking about, I don't understand anything that I've seen so far, and I've got to make the argument on behalf of defensive metrics. When Stugotz in Game 6 and Game 7, Miami was again trading Bam, because they're not paying attention to the defense. They're not paying attention that would have been an all-time Celtics collapse in Game 6. We were denied an all-time Celtics collapse in Game 6. They missed their last 11 shots, and against the Heat team that wasn't doing anything right, they gave up a 10-point lead.
Do they get Tyler Herro back for this series? Are the Heat going to get Tyler Herro?
It's unknown. It's suspected, and this one's tough, Stugotz. I have no earthly idea how hard it is to not play for that long and drop into the speed and intensity of that series and be expected to be a playmaking guard who's accurate with his jump shot and not someone who's being picked on defensively. Like, they're going to, and not to mention, you got Zach Lowe and others talking about the ways that the Heat are better defensively because Tyler Herro's not out there to be picked on. That one's a tough one. Which one are you guys siding on when it comes to the Stan Van Gundy Tyler Herro beef, where Stan Van Gundy said that Tyler Herro's fashion was bad, and Tyler Herro said the equivalent of not as bad as him on the sidelines? Where did you side between our friend Stan Van Gundy and Tyler Herro?
Can I agree with both?
Wow.
You can?
Like, Tyler Herro probably wouldn't wear any of his outfits, but they're not as bad as Stan's. I will give him that.
Pick a side,
No,
Jess.
but I'm sorry, but what
No,
he
but
was
he's talking about
criticizing,
Stan on the sideline just as a coach.
not fashion on the
Right,
sidelines,
yes.
Stan on a sideline
Oh,
coaching.
I thought
It
we were
goes
making
without
fun of
saying.
Stan's outfits.
Well, that goes without saying. Okay, that Stan is not
Okay,
fashionable.
fair.
Tyler was saying that Stan's worse at coaching than he is at dressing.
Well, that's a tough one.
I don't think that, generally speaking, the people on this show can have credible critique of Tyler Herro's garb.
Or Stan's coaching.
I think Tony might disagree. Maybe
I'm
Jess.
going with Tyler here on this one.
What is that supposed to mean, by the way? Like, we don't dress well?
Tony fancies himself as a style person. Do you, Billy? You fancy yourself as having a distinctive fashion style?
I have my own.
He
you know.
definitely has his own style.
Most people aren't in on it, but that's fine.
I will tell
Works
you,
for
I
me.
trust Smetty when it comes to fashion and
Oh,
style.
no one's ever said that
I
before.
mean, I
Thank
do.
you.
I trust you.
Tyler Herro's style, then, among the shipping container, your thoughts are what? Because I'm not of the generation that would understand any of that. Basketball is always out in front in terms of style, of fashion style. It's the league that does that better than any of the others. Guys dictating, and women dictating some of the fashion.
I'll just say this. They've never commented on his fashion, but my daughters tell me they think Tyler Herro is very cool. That's what they tell me.
I think young people do find him cool. I mean, it's not just that Jack Harlow thing. Did something happen between them? Why was Harlow wearing a Celtics jersey?
That's a good question because he's got a song named after Tyler Herro. Apparently they're friends, but that'd be a strike in my book if you're going to wear the opponent's jersey as I'm sitting on the sidelines across from you watching you. Also, Tyler Herro, when you're rich, you can kind of wear anything.
Yeah.
Huh.
What is a
Sort of,
strike
yes.
in the book? What is that
Match
book? What is that?
You're striking a match
You go,
in a matchbook?
It's a
No,
book
it's a
of
strike.
strikes, Dan.
You're
It's a
doing an
strike.
umpire
Yeah, it's
strike.
an umpire strike, yeah. Like, that's one.
No.
You got me looking on that one. I had my bat on my shoulder. All right, I got you there.
I mean, that's
A little
not
faster
what
than I thought.
that's not
Everyone
what
gets
the-
3?
Everybody gets 3 strikes.
You write it in a book, though, right?
Little notebook.
Jot it down.
That is not the phrase. I don't believe that a strike in my book or a cock in the hen house are phrases. Have you gotten to the bottom yet? Did you look anything up here? Did you just throw it out into the universe and then do no work on it afterward? Just got it wrong and we're going to leave it alone.
Well, we lost power, but the cock in the hen house apparently is a reference to a man working in an all-woman environment.
So the opposite of what this is.
Hen in a cock house.
Huh.
The fox was going to eat all of the hens. The cock is impregnating all of the hens.
You don't want to eat an egg with a, I'm telling you, with a little baby
You've
chicken inside.
mentioned
That's
this.
super. Imagine how traumatized you'd be if you go to make some scrambled eggs, right? And you scramble it, or you crack the egg, then you go to toss it in a frying pan, and then all of a sudden there's a little chicken there in the frying pan. You have to figure out, how do I get this chicken out of the frying pan? It's there, and you're like, oh my God, I'm killing this thing. You don't want that. Do you want that? You don't want that.
Billy, I think it takes a long time for the egg to like fertilize and like turn into a chicken.
No.
I think if you get it at a certain point, you get it before it develops.
Yeah, but you don't want like yolk in a little beak. That's weird.
I'm not sure how all of that happens. I don't have many farmers in my group.
should
The
ask Ron.
closest
I think I'm right.
any of you always do. The closest we come to anyone having some animal experience around here is Tony's wild ride on El Diablo in the Dominican Republic, a wild horse. He underestimated it.
Thankfully, I
thinking
made it through, Dan.
He was a good Cuban boy who thought he knew something about horses, and then he met a wild Dominican horse named El Diablo who took him on a wild ride toward the edge of a cliff.
It's like a 500-foot cliff. Billy wasn't here that day when I told the story. Long story short, I was in the Dominican Republic with my family. We went on a horseback ride through the mountains, and I got a horse that was thinking it was in the Kentucky Derby, and there was like a 500-yard straightaway, and we were kind of trotting in a line. The horse saw another horse take off, and this horse took off like Seabiscuit, running me like over about to fly over a cliff like 500 feet down. Luckily, he made a right-hand turn and put me into some mangroves.
And then just started eating.
Eating
all of
trash,
a sudden.
yeah,
But
he
just
started
a
eating trash.
wild, a crazed wild Dominican horse, which I feel like is what this playoff time has been for all of us.
Don't mangroves grow in the water? How are they 500 feet in the air?
Well, no, it's like a mangrove kind of. I don't know what the native plant was, Billy. My bad.
Where do you go if you don't go Seabiscuit? Do you know the name of another horse? Besides
Secretariat.
Verlander?
Nyquist.
Sure.
Wow.
He just wanted to get his Verlander joke off. Like you guys are entertaining his questions. Did you not hear the way he delivered it?
He was my boyfriend in the dream.
Oh, wow.
A helpful Reddit person writes in, at what point does the lovable incompetence of the show start to lose them some of the audience? That hasn't been a stress eating at my everyday life for 3 years in any way. I don't know what you would have liked us to do about the power going down in a new building or new studio, but I assure you that however upset you were about what happened there, it was not nearly as upset as I was about what happened there.
Can we talk about something that happened there yesterday? Because we had this conversation, Stugotz and I, privately. Tony was witness to it also. So behind the scenes, power has gone out, and we're figuring out, well, how do we make this work? Because we need to do a show today. We had off Memorial Day. We had like this huge sports day. We can't just be dark for the day. It's not something we can do. So while we're figuring out what we're doing, one of the solutions is let's do a show on a phone in the dark just to kind of finish out this hour, and then we can go and we can do like a proper show. And you are there hosting, and obviously it's very frustrating what's going on. We don't have a lot of answers. There's lots of people in and out. The air is broken. It's hot. People are getting cranky. It's like a whole thing, right?
But it's also not exactly how we do the show, me with one microphone and 11 people standing
Well,
behind
that's
me.
the other thing is that it was like everybody stand behind Dan. It's like, okay. So we went and we stood behind you.
We have one remote mic.
One working microphone. I don't understand. Apparently, the second power system was just enough to keep our audio up in the dark to Dan Patrick. But after that, all I had was one working microphone and a lot of employees behind me in a totally dark and hot room. Not how we do the show. Not optimal circumstances to have the fun we have every day.
Well, and everyone's kind of confused as to what's going on, where it's just going, whatever, right? So you start going, you do the show, and you're in there as a true, and then you say, the first person you turn to is Chris Cote, and you're like, hey, Chris, and you ask him, I don't remember what it is that you ask him. But in that moment.
Something about Bill Simmons, I think.
In that moment of that heightened stress, he said something along the lines of, I don't know, but I can tickle you, and decided to start tickling you.
Yeah, the wrong answer.
While you were doing this.
Not reading the room correctly.
It was great. It was dark, though, Dan.
After me telling him several times, Chris, read the room.
You were saying it into your microphone, which wasn't working because I had the only working microphone. But yes, there was. I did need some emotional and spiritual tickling there because I felt like I was drowning. I was not terribly proud of everything that we were doing. I felt a little bit far from the professional spaces we've occupied before.
So you felt like that was a good thing that he did, was to try to tickle you while you were live on air?
I was frustrated with him for a number of different reasons yesterday. First of all, he's never reemerged for his workday. Like, he took the train home and then vanished, and I later see him drinking beers at a Marlins game with a Bill Simmons picture on his hat.
He had a day yesterday, right? Because you kick him out, he does the tickle thing, you kick him out, then he comes in, and then he tries to double down on the tickling, and he's like, I could give more time. And I think Stugotz, like, out loud said, while we're recording, hey, Chris, read the room while we're recording. So I'm pretty sure if you go back, you can hear that audio.
Stugotz has worked with me for a long time. I don't think I need to explain to a team of a dozen producers why I would be slightly uncomfortable and off kilter again on one working microphone, an important sports day, in a dark room with 11 people I can't see behind me.
Coochie coo coo coo.
I think you got
How
that
did you
wrong.
Yeah, I don't know where that came from.
How did you botch? And that's one of my teammates. I've got 11 people behind me.
Just stop. Just stop.
Do you want to try it
gonna
again?
tickle you.
No, let's see if Stugotz can get this right.
I can't.
Let's try it again.
Coochie coochie coo. Oh, there it is.
you go.
I left out the second
Third
cooch.
time, yeah.
Bob Kuechenberg.
Oh, my Lord. So then we go home. We have these split teams, and then Chris was recording something with Adnan.
For like 6 hours.
Yeah, we started at noon, and then we're back at 2, and then everyone's like, is Chris okay? What's going on with Chris? And I like texted him privately. I'm like, hey, is everything okay? Like, you coming back? He's like, to the game? I'm like, no, like we're recording. So he's like, I'm editing. And it's like, you got, like, dude, buddy, we're working today. You gotta come
You
back.
texted him. I texted him at about 2:30. Where the hell are you? 2:30 in the afternoon, because he had booked me as part of that Adnan extravaganza. He needed me to talk Succession on whatever it is that Adnan was doing, but he disappeared for that too. So I'm waiting for an appointed time with Chris Cote that never appears.
Well, I was looking at the calendar too, and then he had like another recording, I think like at 3 with, I don't want to spoil their guest list, but they were talking to Jennifer Esposito, and I'm like, are we going to talk about Taxi? Like, what are we doing here that you have to be gone for so long?
We thought he had some sort of 7-hour interview with Martin Scorsese, but it's just going to be Adnan giving you some Succession thoughts.
Without you.
Without me, that's correct.
He was early to the Marlins game, I'll tell you that, because they were trying to get dinner at like 4:30, and I was like, I can't.
4:30 is not dinner, by the way.
It was really
4:30
early.
is lunch.
No, it got to a point because it was me, it was Cougs, it was Brad, and it was
Thanks for the invite.
Chris. Well, I was invited. Chris had the tickets, and he asked me if I wanted to go. I would have invited
How
you
did
happily.
Kugler make the list?
I don't know.
Nobody knows who Kugler is.
Cougs, yeah. Well, that's because Cougs doesn't want to be on camera. Anyways, so they went.
One of the few around here.
They went to Mofongo to eat together at this thing, and I was like, I don't know. So they're like, should we go at 4:30? What time should we eat? And I don't think everybody realized we just wanted to spend as little time together as possible. Like, we committed this, but like, we're not getting there, Chris, at 3 o'clock to hang out. Like, this is a business trip. We're just going to watch the game and get out of there. We left early because
there was a blackout there too. Correct. What?
Yeah, in the middle of like the 8th inning, there was, I guess, really bad storms yesterday here in Miami. Loud thunder and like lightning that was going through
a lot of
people's
wind
windows.
and rain too.
Yeah. It was really bad storms.
That's every afternoon, though.
But the lights.
Summertime.
The lights went out for a split second and then came back, and then I read, and I don't know if it's true, that like they lost, I guess, broadcasting abilities for a little portion of the game, which hopefully it was the 9th inning, because what a disaster that was, giving up 5 runs in the bottom of the 9th.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at LeBatard Show, 4:30 p.m., dinner or lunch?
It depends on where you live, right? Like, I'm with Tony.
How old you are, too.
Well, 4:30 is closer to lunch for me than it is to dinner, but Boca, 4:30 is dinner time, you know?
What time do you guys eat dinner?
I eat late. I'm a late eater.
Yeah, 8:30, 9 o'clock probably for me.
I usually about 6:30 or so, 7.
That's like the time that you should want to, right? Because like if you eat too late, then you can't digest it properly, and then it's like not good for you. Because I also eat a lot of days like 9 o'clock when I'm sitting down to eat dinner, but I feel better when I do like a 6:30 dinner.
But then I get hungry later on. It's like 9:30. I'm like, I'm still a little hungry.
Yeah,
and
but
you eat more.
You're supposed to eat, like, Tony, ideally you would eat dinner at like 5 o'clock.
No way.
Ideally for whom?
No, ideally for your body.
No, because my body works on a different clock. Right? Everybody's body
Then
works on a different
all
clock.
other humans?
Than the rest of
No, it's that
humankind.
if I eat later on in the day, like intermittent fasting windows, if I eat later on in the day, I can extend my window a little bit further, and my body
But
can
if
react
it's
to that.
intermittent fasting, because you're a young person, most people it would be 4 p.m. or 5 p.m. you stop eating, and then you eat again at breakfast time, 8 or 9 a.m. It makes it easier. It makes the fasting something you're just doing while half of it is
the clock
sleeping.
is different, Dan. It would probably be from like noon or 1 o'clock would be my first meal, and then I can extend that noon or 1 o'clock to like 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and then fasting again from 8 o'clock at night. Or 9 o'clock at night to noon or 1 o'clock.
I think you just eat 2 meals a day. I don't think this is like a program. You just eat really late.
It doesn't sound like a program, and it sounds like he's a young person, and it sounds like in 10 years he will be eating late at night and look like his father.
Or me.
Oh, wow.
I don't know about that.
I just took out your father.
He
Yeah,
did.
what was that about?
Unnecessarily so, but that's okay.
No, your father is Tony, 30 years older. That's your father. You know.
And then my grandfather is Tony, but 30 years older than that. So
Isn't that
60
every
years
father,
older.
though? I
No,
mean,
but no. I'm
You're
saying.
explaining, how
I
family
get
trees
it.
work.
Do you
Yeah.
think that you're going to be your dad in 30 years? Do you think that you're going
my
to?
dad's in better shape right now than I'll ever be in. I mean,
Okay.
so no.
So no, that's not everybody's relationship with this. That's Tony's. I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm not going to talk.
Tony's
about
family has kind of like this thing around them that is kind of like, I don't know. I don't want to cross them. I don't know what it is, but there's just like this aura there that I'm like, let me be.
Well,
nice
that's
to
his
Johnny.
father.
Thank
That's
you.
correct. That is correct. Shirt open, 4 buttons, chain.
Where do you think I get it from?
Good cologne, good expensive cologne.
He's not to be trifled
Probably
with. I
a
mean,
closet filled with good dress shoes, I would imagine. Somebody who does formal wear well, and yes, someone not to be trifled with.
Former voice of FIU football, I think.
But
right?
but also thick. But also thick. A
Cuban
man,
thick.
Cuban thick. That's
It's
exactly
a particular.
Right. That's
It's a
correct.
particular thing. Cuban thick is different than
Waist
American
down?
thick than everybody else thick.
Not helpful, Billy. Thank you.
Well,
So-
Cuban thick waist down, like big legs, big calves, right? No, big butts.
I want to ask you a question, Stugotz, based on some of what it is that I see fan bases reacting to in sports.
Okay.
Can you explain to me, because I genuinely don't understand this emotional inconsistency. If you are someone who is yelling, screaming up and down that in Game 6, the Miami Heat were robbed because 10th of a second, where did that time go? And you're making very stringent arguments on behalf of a clock shouldn't have been moved from 2.1 seconds to 3 seconds. And then I present to you in Game 7 the information of Jason Tatum hurt himself on the first play, and that probably impacted the rest of what happened in a way that shouldn't make you indignant because I'm somehow taking respect away from your victory. And 48 hours ago, you were yelling at me about the fact that the refs jobbed you while the Celtics fans laughed at the idea of that. Like, yes, complain about the referees. That's what all losers do after they've lost. It's not something the winners very often do. And fans laugh at you. Go enjoy the 2-minute report. Maybe that'll hang that from your rafters. Take that and put it in the ceiling. The emotional inconsistency of that. Why can't the same people arguing on behalf of what a 10th of a second meant in Game 6 just lend to the Celtics that also part of the result might have been impacted by the best player getting hurt on the first play?
My best guess, in fact, I would say that Heat fans are saying no. It was 103 to 84. That it was a beatdown on your home court, and even if Jason Tatum doesn't sustain that injury, the Heat are still winning that game because your team played lousy that
Okay,
night.
but you can say all that. I'm just asking you, you don't think that a sprained ankle from the most important player on their team who couldn't move side to side in the second half impacted the result without insulting the merit of the result? Like, it's just sort of like, hey, this happened. That was fortunate. May it happen to Jokic early in that series. So we
Right.
can argue for the rest of time about whether the other team was actually better or not. But I just don't get it. Not that fans have to be emotionally consistent, but I just don't get that portion of it. How you can see both of those things in yourself and not see the inconsistency.
It feels like you're taking something away from the Heat by pointing out that Jason Tatum did
And you're
indeed get
taking
hurt.
something away from the Celtics
I
by
agree.
yelling and screaming about 0.9 of a second when they had one of their most memorable moments.